Okay, so I've already tried to start and actually film this video now over 15 times, but these dogs won't stop barking. Hey everyone, it's Victoria, and today I'm going to tell you what book you should read based off of your horoscope. So let's get started. So the first sign I'm going to start with is Aries. You're bold, you're passionate, you're determined. The book I think you should read is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexander Christo. It is a Little Mermaid retelling that involves pirates, a great adventure. It's super fun. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a super fun time, and I think an Aries can relate to both characters, Lyra and Elian. Lyra is a mermaid, and she is the prince's bane. She is mermaids in this world kill people, and they steal their hearts and bury them as a prize for every one of their birthdays. But anyway, this is super fun. Both characters are extremely lovable, and I think Lyra definitely has major Aries vibes, in my opinion. And when I was thinking of the best book for an Aries, this was the first thing that came to mind. So I hope you enjoy it. So the next sign I will be recommending a book for is Taurus. You are practical, determined, and extremely ambitious. And I think that Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, I hope so, is the perfect book for you. I think any Taurus will really relate to Chloe in the way she is an extremely ambitious woman, and she is very hardworking within her career, and she's very successful, and she's also very practical. And she deals with chronic illness due to fibromyalgia, and so that is something that it plays a big part in her life. And this whole book is about her kind of stepping out of her comfort zone and getting a life. And this is just a super fun read, super steamy, super fun, and the love interest is extremely lovable. So the next sign I'm going to be recommending a book for is Gemini. You are extremely adaptable, outgoing, and very intelligent. And I think that The Hating Game by Sally Thorne is the perfect book for you. I mean, actually, I'm not going to say these are perfect books for you, but I think these books you can find extremely relatable to at least one or both of the main characters. I think any Gemini could really get along and relate with Lucy as well as Joshua in a sense, because Geminis are known to have kind of that double personality, not in a bad way, but their ability to adapt to different people. And I think that this book is just super fun. It is enemies to lovers, which is always a great time. And I think it kind of is the nice ping pong for a Gemini to really enjoy, and it'll keep them on their toes. And yeah, I really had fun. I read this book in a day because I just was so invested from the very beginning. So this is definitely something you should check out. So the next sign I will be talking about is my sign, Cancer. We are very sensitive, empathetic, compassionate, nurturing people. We're the mother of the signs. And I think the perfect book for any Cancer is Lovely War by Julie Berry. This book is a historical romance that is set in World War I, and it follows the lives of 4 characters, and it tells their love stories from the perspective or from the narration of the Greek gods. This book is so interesting. The way that it's told is unique in its own way and so fun, but the story that it tells, the unique stories and then the stories that come together, is so beautiful. I cried like a baby reading this book. This book is the Cancer book. any Cancer will fall in love with this and just fall in love with the characters. I mean, anyone will fall in love with this book, but this kind of hits just the right places for a very sensitive Cancer. Next, I will be recommending a book for a Leo. Leos, you are vivacious, you're outgoing, and you're natural born leaders. You always are the kind of like the person who's center of attention, not in a egotistical way, but just you have this energy about you that brings people towards you and gets people to listen and pay attention to you. And the book I think that you would relate immensely to is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. This book follows Lou and Reed. Lou is a witch and Reed is a witch hunter, chausseur, or whatever. This is a French inspired fantasy book in a sense. It's kind of hard to describe what it is. It kind of takes inspiration from 18th century France, I want to say, maybe a little bit before 17th century, but Leos would 100% relate to Lou. She has so much personality. She is funny. She is outgoing. She doesn't really care what other people think of her, and she doesn't mind being the center of attention. And this is just a fun read. There is a second book already out, so if you read it now, you won't have to wait a year or longer to get your hands on the next book. I haven't read it yet, but I'm very excited to. So yeah, definitely check this book out. The next sign I will be recommending a book for is Virgo. Virgos, you are reliable, you're creative, you're hardworking people, and the book I would like to recommend for you is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This is a standalone fantasy book that follows, what is her name? Isabel, and she is a extremely talented artist, and she paints for the Fae in this world. And the Fae in this world are very different from Sarah J. Maas's hot Fae. They're a little bit different, they're a little bit darker, and this is an extremely interesting fantasy story. I think Margaret Rogerson is very talented at writing standalone fantasies, which is very unique and hard to do since fantasy worlds rely on so much world building, but I think she does this in a great way, and I think Virgos would really relate to Isabel as a character. I'm pretty sure she is a Virgo. She's creative, she's extremely hardworking and loyal to her family and wants to provide for them. But yeah, I think Virgos can really relate to Isabel, and I think anyone else who's interested in trying out this story will have a great time reading it. So the next sign I will be recommending a book for is Libra. You are a attention to detail, well-balanced person who is also very charming and idealistic in some ways. Most Libras are perfectionists and kind of have this hope that they can achieve their perfect ideal, and they'll work their butts off to get it. And I think the book you should read is Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. I absolutely love this book. It is a historical romance set in Victoria, England, and it is super fun, steamy. It takes place during the women's suffrage movement in Britain, and it's a super empowering story, and I think Libras will be able to relate to both characters, Sebastian and Annabelle, because Sebastian is very dedicated to his perfect ideal of his life, and he works his butt off, and he's very cold and calculated, and he wants perfection from the people in his life and the events in his life. And Annabelle is also similar in some ways. She is extremely dedicated, and she's idealistic in the sense that she envisions this better life for herself, and she will work her butt off until she has it, and she has this hope. She's a very, I think that's something that I found beautiful about her character, is that she never gave up hope even when her situation seemed like she had no options. She never kind of gave up who she was for anyone else. And I love this book. The second book in this series is already out, and amazing read, super fun. And this series I am already super obsessed with. I think Evie's gonna publish 4 books, and it's called A League of Extraordinary Women. And so it started with Annabelle, and it's this friend group, and then it's going to follow the rest of her friends and their love stories and their journeys as women in the era where women had no rights. The minute they became married, they were their husband's property. Anything that they owned was their husband's property. Their children were their husband's property. And I think seeing how these women with different personalities, different struggles, kind of go through this world is extremely interesting. And I think a bunch of people should, other than just Libra, should check out this book. I 100% love it, so definitely go check it out. So the next sign I will be recommending a book for is Scorpios. You are loyal, you're determined, you're persistent, you're also very strategic and tough. And I think a character that you would really relate to is Jude Dort from the Cruel Prince series. This is a fantasy series that follows a human girl who is stolen from our world and taken to the land of Elfame, which is a land of fairies, and it follows her tackling being human in this world where everyone is out to get her because she's human, and her kind of rising above that. She's extremely strong. She's kind of a morally gray character, which I think is very interesting to follow because you root for her no matter what, but there are times where you're like, Jude, like, I don't know if I would do that. But she's a very interesting character to follow, and this series overall is very interesting in the way that it tackles the Fae world, which is a very popular and kind of common fantasy avenue, is the Fae. And so I really enjoyed this series. Definitely go give it a read, especially the first book, give it a shot. I think it's really fun. And seeing kind of the growth with court politics and also just the action and different aspects of it are super exciting. The world building by Holly Black. I forgot this is by Holly Black. She is great at this world building. I really felt immersed into this world, and I think her characterization is very fun and interesting. Like I said, take a shot if you hear me saying interesting, because interesting or fun, because those are my favorite words, I guess. But yeah, definitely go check this out. Jude is 100% a Scorpio, maybe an Aries, but I see her more as a Scorpio, so definitely go check it out if you're a Scorpio. So the next sign that I will be suggesting a book for is Sagittarius. You're honest, you're adventurous, and you're also extremely independent, and I think your personalities are very unique and not eccentric, but just you're an outgoing person who's kind of down for anything. The book that I suggest for you is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is another fantasy series that does not tackle the Fae, but it actually goes more into the witch and sorcery type of avenue within fantasy. And this is just super exciting. It's a super fun story. It's very different from other fantasy books that I've read. And I think, like I said before, Margaret Rogerson is great at doing these standalone fantasies, which is really hard to do, but she does it in a great way. And I think a Sagittarius would just have fun with this book because the characters are very unique and fun, and there's always something happening in this book, and it doesn't really lag in any areas. It's just super fun, and I think a Sagittarius would have a good time with this. So yeah, go pick it up. The next sign is Capricorn. You are ambitious, realistic, but you're also a very sensitive person. And I think the book character that you would relate to the most is Rowan from Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This book is super fun, and I think Rowan has this, she's very ambitious academically, and the whole point of like this story is that she's been for the past 4 years in this rivalry with this other boy from her school academically. They've been fighting for the same spots. They are fighting over who's going to get valedictorian, and I think a lot of people can relate to her dedication to winning and beating him, but also to her own personal academic pursuits and growth as a person. And she's also very sensitive. I think she cares a lot about what people think of her and how like people in her life are affected by her actions. I think she has kind of these two sides to her where she's extremely like academic, but she's a romantic at heart. She loves romance novels and she just has this romanticism to her. So I think a Capricorn would really enjoy reading her story. So definitely go check it out. So the next sign is Aquarius. You are assertive, you're a very analytical person, and you're also very ambitious and independent. And I think you would really enjoy The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This is a super, super sweet story, but it also, I think, kind of, you can really relate to Stella because you have this analytical way of viewing the world, and it's very similar to how Stella kind of views the world and her interest, I think. I think The Kiss Quotient is a great book overall. I think everyone should give it a read, even if you're not really into romance. I think this is a really fun read, but I think Aquariuses could find a lot that they could relate to Stella and even Michael in some ways. So I think that's another thing, is like any of these books can be appealing to any of the signs. I'm just saying like what the vibe I get in my first thought, but yeah, definitely go give The Kiss Quotient a read. So the final horoscope sign that I will be giving a recommendation for is Pisces. You are a romantic, you're very empathetic and an impressionable person. You kind of have this idealistic idea of the world and how it can be better. And I think a book that you would really enjoy is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. You can see that. This book follows Emily. She has come to her sister's small town to help her sister after an accident, and she kind of like put her life on hold so that she could help her sister and her niece. And she gets roped into this whole Ren fair where she has to like volunteer and help with her niece's school and their setup. And she gets into an enemies to lovers situation with the English teacher, Simon. And it's super fun. I loved this book. It has some great steamy scenes as well as just great funny scenes. And this is also another series with the second book already out, and it follows one of Emily's friends that she makes during the story. So definitely go check that out. I haven't read it yet, but I am going to read it very, very soon. I'm extremely excited about it. I really loved this book and had such a fun time, and I think a Pisces would really relate to Emily because I think at heart she is a true romantic, and I think she's just a really like nice character and someone that I think we can all relate to in one way or the other. And I think her devotion to her family is very telling. But yeah, I really had a fun time with this, and I think a Pisces would really like this. So yeah. I would like to preface, I am not an expert on horoscopes whatsoever, but I did like a little bit research because I'm very into my own personal horoscope and how other horoscopes go with my personality and who's most compatible with me, but I didn't really do that much research before this video on horoscopes until I decided to make this video. So I did look up some key characteristics about the signs, and I kind of based off of that, I got the vibe that I was feeling and picked some of my favorite books that I thought each sign would vibe with. If you don't vibe with the books I recommend, I'm really sorry. Maybe try another one that piqued your interest, I don't know. But yeah, I really had a lot of fun kind of creating this format. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the books I recommended to you, and I hope that you can give me a like, a follow, or subscribe, whatever. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!